nation's commitment to the people we serve in Africa, the Global South, and around the world. It is now my honor to invite Mrs. Zainab Hawa Bangura, the United Nations Under-Secretary General and Director General of the United Nations Office at Nairobi, to deliver her remarks. Welcome, Madam Director General.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samuel Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Madam Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Mr. William MacDonald, Permanent Representative of Barbados to the United Nations in Kenya and the Conference Services Project Advisory Board Chair. Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, UN colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We are deeply honored to welcome you to the United Nations Office at Nairobi for this historic moment, the groundbreaking of the Conference Facilities Project Assembly Hall and the inauguration of our new office blocks here at the UN Gigiri Complex. We are standing on the very ground where a new state-of-the-art assembly hall will rise. The design you see in the backdrop will seat 1,600 capacity delegates. It will also reflect both the United Nations modernist heritage and the unique beauty of our Gigiri complex. By 2029, UN will expand from 14 to 30 meeting rooms, increasing total seating capacity from 2,000 to 9,000 delegates, thus strengthen Nairobi's role as a global center for multilateral diplomacy. This milestone is possible because of the steadfast support of the Secretary General, the President and government and people of Kenya and the member states. Mr. Secretary General, thank you for your leadership and belief in Nairobi as a vital UN headquarters, the only one in the Global South. Your Excellency, Mr. President, we're deeply grateful for Kenya's partnership and commitment to multilateral cooperation, which continues to make Nairobi a unique home for global dialogue and action. I also thank our dedicated project team, the advisory board, and all member states, as well as our architects, Bogoman and partners of South Africa and their Kenyan partners, and Hesgog and D. Morin of Switzerland, and their consultants for turning this vision into reality. Today, we will also inaugurate the new office buildings, completed under budget and ahead of schedule, improving space utilization, strengthening climate resilience, and ensuring universal accessibility. Together with the new conferencing facilities, they represent a combined capital value of $340 million US, the UN Secretariat's largest investment ever in Africa outside peacekeeping. Thank you for joining us for this landmark step for the United Nations in Kenya and for the future of diplomacy in Nairobi. Asante na sana. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director General. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. William MacDonald, the Permanent Representative of Barbados to the United Nations and Chair of the Advisory Board of the Conference Facilities Project, to make his remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Madam MC. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, honorable members of the Diplomatic Corps, representatives of the Government of Kenya, United Nations staff, distinguished delegates, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As we mark this special moment, it is my great privilege and pride and honor to represent the member states here in Nairobi. Excellencies, most of us have spent many hours here in these rooms at the United Nations Conference Center here. During productive and if sometimes very very long discussions and negotiations. And over that period, it has become abundantly clear that the time for the modernizing and the expansion of this facility is and has been long overdue. As member states of the United Nations tackle the most difficult global challenges, the call for a healthy, safe, and modern meeting place has moved from a nice to have to an urgent need. As a proud member and representative of Barbados, I feel a special affinity to UNON, as it is the only United Nations headquarters located in the global south. Smaller countries like mine are very frequently underrepresented in the critical deliberations on the very issues that most directly affect them, like climate change and adequate housing for all. With the development of this campus and conferencing facility, this trend should and hopefully will change. This project represents a visible and tangible expression of the support of the global community for the issues which directly affect not only us as smaller nations, but it also acknowledges Africa's leadership as a crucible for the solutions through which will emanate from here. As, in just over 3 years, we will finally have a place that is to meet that is on par with New York, Geneva, and Vienna, that is ours. For this great achievement, I congratulate the Director General of UNON, Ms. Zainab Hawa Bangura, and her team for advocating for and designing such a beautiful place. I offer my full assurance that the Advisory Board and Member States will continue to be fully engaged in this project, offering strategic guidance and advice to the Director General as needed, and when the team begins the construction of this impressive conference assembly facility. I hope that in 3 years from now, you will be welcome to this hall, filled with natural light, nestled within this beautiful forest, an oasis of peace, healthy, sustainable, fully accessible and modern, the quality of which will be second to none, making a positive impacts on the outcomes being determined within its walls and giving hope for a better future for us all. May this place be a shining beacon for excellence, multilateralism, and the advancement of our shared humanity. Tubariki sisi sote, asanteni sana.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I now invite His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Government of Kenya, to make his remarks. Welcome.
Your Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Madam Amina Mohammed, Madam Hawa Bangura, Director General of the United Nations Office at Nairobi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here for this monumental occasion, and I wish to briefly reflect on the historical journey and evolution of the United Nations Office at Nairobi, whose growth and success continue to symbolize Kenya's enduring commitment to multilateralism and international cooperation. Following independence in 1963, Kenya immediately joined the United Nations, affirming its confidence in the community of nations and the principles of multilateralism. 9 years later, despite being a young nation, Kenya successfully bid to host the headquarters of the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP. Upon its establishment, UNEP initially operated from the Kenyatta International Conference Center before relocating to its current home in Gigiri in 1975. In 1978, UNEP was joined by the United Nations Center for Human Settlements, now known as UN Habitat. Together, these institutions created a vibrant multilateral ecosystem, and today, more than 70 UN agencies, funds, and programs operate from Nairobi. Kenya is proud and privileged to host these important institutions here in Nairobi, whose presence reflects the confidence that the international community continues to place in our country and our people. Allow me, Mr. Secretary General, to acknowledge your able leadership and steadfast support towards the continued growth and strengthening of the United Nations presence in Nairobi. Kenya deeply appreciates the deliberate efforts undertaken under your tenure to modernize and upgrade this campus to be at par with other UN duty stations in New York, Geneva, and Vienna. Kenya remains committed to working closely with all member states and the leadership of the United Nations to ensure that the UN system becomes more efficient, effective, responsive, and impactful in improving the lives of all people, especially the most vulnerable populations. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is now my distinct honor to invite the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, to deliver his remarks. Welcome, Secretary General.
Your Excellency and dear friend, President William Samuel Ruto of the Republic of Kenya, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to mark these two milestones in the United Nations presence in Africa and our shared journey toward a more inclusive and forward-looking multilateralism. The groundbreaking ceremony for the new Assembly Hall and the inauguration of new office buildings are symbols of our collective ambition, and the reaffirmation of the central role that Africa, and Kenya in particular, play in the life and future of the United Nations. Nairobi is neither a satellite nor an outpost. It is a pillar, the only United Nations headquarters in Africa and in the Global South. From its beginning in the 70s as the home of UNEP and UN Habitat, this campus, generously donated by the government of Kenya, has grown into a dynamic hub of multilateral action. Nairobi is a place where global challenges meet regional solutions, where innovation is born, and where the future of multilateralism is being shaped every day. This is a powerful demonstration of what United Nations can achieve when we are focused, efficient, and united in purpose. Thanks to exemplary cooperation across agencies, UNHCR, UNICEF, UNFPA, and UN Women have moved staff into the heart of the UN family at Gihiri. What has been achieved here is not just buildings, it's a blueprint for the future. The new offices are UN's first net zero building powered year-round by on-site solar. The expanded conference facilities will add further solar installations, bringing the complex to energy neutrality by 2029. The dry upland forest is also returning to Gigiri. Nearly 3,000 indigenous trees have already been planted alongside the office buildings, and another 3,000 will follow as the conference complex rises. And every building is designed with universal accessibility at its core. Today, we also look ahead. In just 2 years, this ground will host world leaders confronting the most pressing issues of our time. They will gather in a new amphitheater carved into African soil and surrounded by the Kenyan forest. It will anchor a modern conference complex with capacity for 9,000 people, welcoming delegates, civil society, and the public. And all of this comes at a time of transformation for our organization. As we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, we are reimagining how we work, how we deliver, how we lead. And we do so recognizing the role of this great continent. Africa is a driver of solutions, a source of innovation, and a voice of moral clarity in our shared pursuit of peace and security, sustainable development, and human rights. Across the continent, we see talent, dynamism, and determination. Countries and communities advancing clean energy, digital innovation, peace building, and economic transformation. But this potential is being held back by global obstacles that Africa did not create, from unjust borrowing costs and crushing debt burdens to a deeply unequal international system that reflects last century's power relations. True solidarity with Africa means helping remove those obstacles. It means reforming the institutions of global governance so African countries have the representation, the voice, and the decision-making power they deserve, including in the Security Council and the international financial institutions. And it means easing debt burdens, lowering the cost of capital, and mobilizing far greater investment and market access in support of Africa's sustainable development. This is also why the expansion of UNON and the growing presence of UN entities here in Nairobi matters so much. It reflects our commitment to bringing the United Nations closer to the people and regions it serves. Excellencies, dear friends, today we are opening a new chapter, a chapter of deeper collaboration and greater ambition, a stronger partnership between the United Nations and the people of Africa. And I want to express my deep gratitude to the government and people of Kenya. Thank you for your unwavering support and generosity. To all the women and men who have made these projects possible, thank you for your perseverance. And to all colleagues who call Nairobi home, thank you for your dedication and commitment. May these new spaces inspire bold ideas, ensuring partnerships and lasting impact. Asante sana, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your remarks. I now invite His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, to deliver his remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, I know you once told me that I should not refer you to it with titles. Deputy UN Secretary General Amina Mohammed, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you, and especially my good friend, Secretary General and his deputy. And I'm told they rarely travel out together, except on very consequential functions like this one. Your presence underscores our shared commitment to strengthening multilateralism and ensuring the UN remains effective responsive, and fit for purpose in addressing the challenges of our time. 51 years ago, this site was little more than a coffee plantation on the outskirts of the capital city of Nairobi. Today, through visionary leadership and Kenya's commitment to multilateralism and international cooperation, it has evolved into the largest UN headquarters by acreage anywhere in the world. Yes, I said anywhere in the world. As the only UN headquarters in the global south, Nairobi stands as a powerful symbol that the United Nations truly belongs to all the peoples of the world and reflects the shared aspirations of humanity. We are proud and privileged to host more than 70 UN agencies, funds, and programs, alongside a vibrant community of 6,000 plus staff who serve from Nairobi today. As these presence continue to grow, Kenya remains firmly committed to ensuring that the United Nations office at Nairobi is fully equipped to deliver effective, responsive, and impactful service to the people and the communities who need it most. Today's groundbreaking ceremony marks a historic milestone for Kenya, for the United Nations, and indeed for the entire global south, as well as for the future of multilateral cooperation across the world. The launch of the United Nations Conference Facilities Project reaffirms Kenya's steadfast commitment to international diplomacy, sustainable development, and the shared values that continue to unite member states in pursuit of a more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous world. The approval by the UN General Assembly of the Conference Facilities Project demonstrates the collective resolve of member states to strengthen the UN office in Nairobi. This transformative project will modernize critical infrastructure, address the long-standing deterioration of existing facilities, optimize space utilization, and ensure full compliance with international health, safety, and accessibility standards. This will enhance Nairobi's capacity and be consistent with its status alongside other UN headquarters to effectively serve as a premier global hub for multilateral diplomacy and international cooperation. Kenya provides favorable enabling conditions, a supportive legal environment, and is among the most cost-effective jurisdictions across all UN headquarters globally. The government of Kenya shall continue working closely with the United Nations and with you, Mr. Secretary General, to strengthen and transform Nairobi as a premier diplomatic, multilateral, and humanitarian hub, as well as a global center for dialogue on peace and security, environmental diplomacy, and international development cooperation. This is particularly important at a time when multilateralism is under considerable strain from geopolitical fragmentation, growing mistrust, fiscal pressures, and widening global inequalities. In this context, the United Nations office at Nairobi stands as a powerful expression of inclusivity, geographical balance, and the universality of the UN system. These challenges to multilateralism place renewed emphasis on the need to deliver mandates efficiently while preserving the core values of the organization and upholding a balanced and integrated approach to the three pillars of the United Nations Charter: development, human rights, and peace and security. All three pillars are interlinked and require predictable, adequate, responsive financing and effective institutional support. I acknowledge that the replacement of the original 10 office blocks is set to deliver modern, safe, accessible, and environmentally sustainable facilities. The already completed phases are an impressive combination of improved accessibility for persons with disability, efficient space utilization, environmental preservation, and generation of clean energy, taking full advantage of our sobriquet as the green city under the sun. Mr. Secretary General, as a host country, Kenya remains committed and assures you of support for the United Nations through a whole-of-government approach, including what we are investing, close to $1.1 billion of domestic resources in expanding infrastructure, utilities, ICT systems, security arrangements, and the operationalization of the UN one-stop shop. As I mentioned to you earlier, Mr. Secretary General, we are investing our own resources. Just 2 months ago, I did unveil a plan to enhance the motorability and mobility around Nairobi. We are going to spend close to $700 million to extend the road network around Nairobi. About 267 kilometers of new tarmac is going to be expanded in the city of Nairobi. We are going to invest also in the cleanup of the city of Nairobi, of lighting in the city of Nairobi, adding additional water resources into the city of Nairobi. And for the first time, beginning July this year, we will have a metropolitan police in Nairobi to ensure that there is adequate security in the city of Nairobi. I will also want to let you know that working with partners, and I want to thank UNEP for their partnership, we are also investing in the Nairobi River regeneration, and we are spending close to $400 million to clean up the city of Nairobi, to make it motorable, and to eliminate sewage that has been a big menace in that river, and modernizing the whole corridor of almost 50 kilometers. Mr. Secretary General, we are not doing this for the UN. We are doing this for the city of Nairobi and its residents. And among its residents is the UN staff here. And I want to thank the invaluable support of the UN fraternity in making sure that this city becomes livable and this city works for all its residents. Today's groundbreaking reaffirms our collective faith in multilateralism and in the enduring mission of the United Nations. Kenya stands steadfast with the international community in advancing peace, sustainable development, human dignity, and shared prosperity for all nations and all peoples. Mr. Secretary General, again, it's my pleasure on behalf of the government and people of Kenya, and on my own behalf, to welcome you again to Nairobi and to thank you for your friendship and your leadership, without which we wouldn't be doing this groundbreaking ceremony. We want to thank you in a very special way for your leadership, for all the things that you have done to make sure that this facility here that is going to make Nairobi a hub of conferencing. I also want to tell you, Mr. Secretary General, in support and to complement what the UN family is doing here, expanding conference facility, the government of Kenya is also building a conference facility to complement what you are building here in Bomas of Kenya, which will be ready in the coming months, maybe by September this year. So as you do what you're doing at the UN headquarters here in Nairobi, we will be complementing your efforts, as I said, in deploying our own resources to make sure that the residents of this city and the UN family living with us in this city will have a good experience living and working out of Nairobi. We are in the process of working on our Privileges and Immunities Act to also provide opportunity for families and staff who work out of Nairobi. If they consider retiring in Nairobi, we're trying to extend facilities, and the law will provide incentives for you to retire in this great city of Nairobi. And that will be extended to you, Mr. Secretary General, just in case. Just in case you consider retiring in this city of Nairobi, because we have a great relationship with the UN family, UN staff who work out of here. They have become part and parcel of the Kenyan family, and we want to make sure that they can enjoy the city of Nairobi and enjoy Kenya beyond their working experience here. We look forward to deepening our partnership with the United Nations at Nairobi as Nairobi continues to grow as a center of global diplomacy and a symbol of international cooperation for generations ahead. Thank you very much, and enjoy your stay in Nairobi. Asante sana.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President Ruto, for your remarks. Excellencies and distinguished guests, we now come to the highlight of today's ceremony, the groundbreaking for the UNON New Assembly Hall and Conference Facilities Project. I kindly invite the following 10 to come forward for the ceremonial turning of the soil. Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach, UN Undersecretary General and Executive Director for the UN Human Settlements Program, UN Habitat. Ms. Inga Anderson, UN Undersecretary General and Executive Director, UN Environment Program, UNEP. Mrs. Zainab Hawa Bangura, UN Undersecretary General and Director General of UNON. His Excellency, Mr. William MacDonald, Permanent Representative of Barbados to the United Nations in Kenya and Chair of the Advisory Board of the Conference Facilities Project. Her Excellency, Dr. Aida Odinga, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Kenya to UNON and UNEP. Dr. Chris Kipto, Principal Secretary, the National Treasury. His Excellency, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Government of Kenya. Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. I would now like to invite Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, and His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, to come forward. I also invite members of the media, yes, to come forward. Thank you. to the designated media area for the official photo opportunity. These shovels have been specially made with wood harvested from a tree in the compound, so it's been recycled. And I would now invite you all to use the shovels to turn the top of the soil for this historic occasion. Thank you. Another round of applause. I will now invite His Excellency the President and the Secretary of the United Nations to share a few words with the media right there, after which they and their delegations and the media will depart to the second part of our program. I request that the rest of our distinguished guests remain seated, and I'll provide more information on the next segment of the program. Thank you. Over there. General, if you'd like to share some reflections on this occasion. We're going to get a mic. Where the mic?
Check.
Just do it from the podium then. No.
So, I have made my comments already on this very consequential ceremony. An investment of close to $340 million to expand the infrastructure and facilities, especially the conference facilities in this campus, and for which we are truly grateful to the Secretary General's leadership and the UN member states for providing the resources for this facility to be built. And as I have said, there will be complementary investments by the government of Kenya to support the investments being made by member states and the UN family here in Nairobi. We will be improving mobility around the city of Nairobi by building an extra 267 kilometers. It's a program I launched 2 months ago. We will also be enhancing water availability. We are investing in some of our water resources to make sure that we have additional resources and additional water in this campus and in the city of Nairobi. We will be investing in making Nairobi much more beautiful and cleaner. And we will be lighting the city of Nairobi. We are going to roll out initially 40,000 lights around the city of Nairobi, and then followed by another 50,000 to make it 90,000 before the end of this year, again to improve livability in the city of Nairobi for all the residents of the city of Nairobi, including the UN family that live with us here. This is a very important occasion for us. We are truly grateful to the Secretary General and the UN family and the member states for making this project a success. And we look forward to partnering with the UN going into the future, and for all the things that we do together, thanking the Secretary General for his advocacy, for his voice on matters that affect the Global South, from the international financial architecture. And I have had occasion to share this with the Secretary General, that the Global South is depending on him to use his voice to advocate, not just for the reform of the international financial architecture, but to also support the new Africa financial architecture that we have designed, and also what we have done in Kenya with our new National Infrastructure Fund, so that we can have a multiplicity of interventions to make sure that we deal with the challenge of debt, we deal with the challenge of access to concessional resources at scale. And we have made proposals which we hope to carry with the Secretary General all the way to every fora, including the G7 that is going to be held in a month's time, and all the other multilateral fora that we will find as a way of finding solutions. It's been for a very long time that this continent, the Global South, is about problems, conflict, disease, poverty. We're changing that altogether. Even as we carry out the French Africa Summit in Nairobi, it is contextualized differently, that this continent is not about it's not about aid, it's not about loans. This continent is about ideas, solutions, and investments. And that is the conversation we are having in Nairobi, different from other conversations that have been had before. And therefore, I am looking forward to working with the Secretary General and the UN family here in Nairobi as we fashion solutions for the challenges that face our nations and our continent, and providing global solutions to global challenges. We're very proud on behalf of the government and people of Kenya of this investment, and we look forward to working together. Mr. Secretary General.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, this complex would not be possible without the enormous generosity and hospitality of the government and people of Kenya. The government of Kenya has been absolutely essential to create the conditions to allow for the biggest campus in the UN globally to offer to the United Nations exceptional conditions to work and to serve the people we care for in Africa and around the world. Dear President William Ruto, thank you very much for what has been a continued support and a strong investment in allowing the UN to be able to be present here. Dynamism, with enthusiasm, and with the will to contribute to the Africa that you have just described. And indeed, we want to be part of this transformational Africa strategy that is overcoming once for all what was the legacy of colonialism. I usually say that Africa was a double victim of colonialism. First of all, because of what colonialism represented in itself and the suffering that it brought. But second, because of the legacy of for a continent in which the infrastructure that had been built was not to connect the Africans among themselves, was not to develop the African economy, but it was to allow for the extraction of African resources to the benefit of developed countries. And I see today in Africa
in its use, in its dynamism, its initiative, a will that once and for all end that legacy and create an African continent with a role among equals in the international community. And I have to say that I'm also enthusiastic about the commitment that I see in African governments, not only to advocate for justice in international relations, but to mobilize their own national resources for the benefit of the development of their countries. Having said so, my voice will remain loud and clear in saying that we live in a situation that is deeply unfair. It is not acceptable that African countries pay more than 3 times more than developed countries in order to obtain the loans they need for the development. Many of these countries with a more solid financial situation and better development perspectives than developed countries that obtain resources with much lower cost. This is absolutely unacceptable. On the other hand, the truth is that because in 1945 Africans were not at the table, the institutions, the Security Council of the United Nations, the Bretton Woods system, the essential institutions of governance in the world were done without an African presence. And Africa paid a huge price for that. And that is the reason why we are claiming that there will be no justice before there will be permanent African members in the Security Council, and there will be no justice before Africa has its right share in the quotas of the IMF or in the capital of the World Bank or in the many other institutions, for the African interests to be much more seriously taken into account by the international financial architecture. And the African continent can count on me. I will always be at your side to correct injustices and to make sure that the world recognizes that there is a price that the world must pay in order to overcome all the injustices that Africa has suffered, and to support what is now this transformational enthusiasm that I see in the African continent, and of which Kenya and the President of Kenya are 2 very clear examples. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency and Mr. Secretary General. Excellencies, distinguished guests, we have come to the end of this part of our program. The next segment will be the inauguration of the new offices by His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, and Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General.